right, and we are back. Joining me in the studio now, Conn from Conn's Hospitality Group and from the My Heart's Downtown campaign. Karen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Every day's a great day that I get up and get going in downtown Springfield.
Absolutely, and it's a gorgeous day down here today, isn't it?
I'm
Got some
not,
sunshine the last couple of days.
and today's going to be high 60s. We can't complain about that in February, can we?
Love it, love it. No, I'll take that any day in February.
I'll take that
and
any.
March too.
I was going to say I'll take that any day in the winter.
Right. So you've been in downtown for quite a while now with the businesses you've had over the years. But before we get into those, let's just learn a little bit about Karen. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Man, so Karen Conn, that's me. I was born and raised here in Springfield, just south of Springfield, actually, in a little subdivision called Southern View.
Mm-hmm.
And grew up out there, went to public schools in District 186. So I'm pretty passionate about the public school system here in Springfield. How I got really engaged in really, I want to say, preserving heritage and culture and historic buildings along the way
Mm-hmm.
was as a child. Times were different in the 70s and the 80s, and I was allowed after school to jump on the city bus by myself and come downtown and then meet my dad after he got off work, and then he would drive home. But in that time, that gap between when he got off work and my time downtown, I got to run around the downtown, run into the stores like Herndon's and Roland's and S.A. Barker. So I always had a deep, strong passion for downtown. I remember what it was like back in the 70s and the 80s. And as I grew up, and it was like, you know what? I want to do what I can to help preserve that culture. And then if I back up into my family life, my parents were always renovating the house. And they were DIYers before that was ever popular.
Sure.
Well, I got that bug as well. And then, like I said, I attended the Springfield schools. I graduated early and did what, my parents wanted me to do, go to college and get a fine education and become an engineer. After a few years of doing that, I was like, that's not for me.
Uh-huh.
So I started working for the Conn family. Actually, in my sophomore year in high school, I started working for Court and Roy Conn. And I really enjoyed the public perspective of being in the hospitality industry and working the counters or working events. And believe it or not, that's been my only job in life, is working for the Conn family.
Yeah.
So can you imagine how much I really enjoyed it, because I never left.
Right.
And
exactly.
that's been 40 plus years ago.
Wow. What kind of engineer were you going to be?
I wanted to be a civil engineer, but I real quickly realized that that wasn't for me. I'm not a behind the scenes, in that I want to be stuck at a desk and doing calculations and analyzing and drawing all day. I want to be out in the public, meeting people, learning about people. So I real quickly pivoted, decided I was going to go into business administration, and then transferred over to Illinois College in Jacksonville and did that for a few years. I didn't graduate from there because I had an opportunity with the Conn family to go full-time and really help with the inner workings, the office, and party planning with the Conn's catering events and that perspective. So I did drop out of college and started working for them full-time back in, let's just say it's been a long time. I don't want to totally age myself on this. But, I really enjoyed working for the family. And then, one thing led to another, and Court and I ended up getting married along the way.
Mm-hmm.
I often tease him. I said, the only reason you married me because you knew I was the workhorse behind it.
Sure.
But no, my dear husband, he's a great guy. He's a great guy.
So take us back to some of those early years. What did the business look like then?
When I first started with the Conn family, I was working concessions out at the fairgrounds every weekend, because they opened in April and then went through October. So I did that for many, many years, finished my high school. And even when I was still in college, I was doing a few weekends out there. But then I transitioned into doing off-premise catering with them. And that was my full-time job. So I coordinated all of the off-premise events. I did all the load sheets. I did the actual execution of the events, and then bringing things back, organizing it. Then I transitioned into the office, and I was doing bookkeeping. I was helping assist with event sales. I am not a salesperson, so I was assisting with event sales. And as I was doing that, I was learning and growing along the way, and I was going to college to learn some business administration. So that all kind of connected and resonated with me, that I really am kind of a dreamer, ideal person. And when Court and I got married, we decided that we needed to take the catering to the next level. And that's when we got into the Inn at 835. And really the genesis of that is like we were off-premise caterers that had just used restaurant equipment. And so there was no retirement long term in that. And it was like we need brick and mortar. And we stumbled upon the idea of having a bed and breakfast, lodging rooms tied in with event space and our catering services. So it kind of took what our passion was in food service and event planning, and then it morphed into hotel and lodging. And we did that for many years. We opened the inn in 1997. We ran that for roughly 6 years before we were able to build out the convention space that's back behind the inn. So in 2006, we opened that. And we ran that for many years. And as the business was growing, always strategizing, Court and I decided that, hey, we wanted to venture out downtown and build our own competition. Things were going good in the bed and breakfast. Things were going great in the event space. And so we found some properties downtown we thought would be ideal for another bed and breakfast, kind of a small event space scale. And so we approached the owner there that owned the property, which is now where the cidery is, 7th Street Cidery. We negotiated a deal and we bought that property. And then we got into it as dreamers. Sometimes you dream the big picture and don't do enough strategy in the back end to realize like that probably wasn't the best idea. Because as we got into it, the cost to do renovation and add the guest rooms and all of that was too prohibitive, so the numbers didn't work. And we got historic preservation involved, and they came back and told us that this building literally is too far gone to save. And at the same time that this conversation was happening was also the same time that it was talk about demolishing the Meisenbacher house, which is the home that is currently on the location. And the significance of saving that particular building was it had a direct tie to Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln loaned the builder, the owner of the house at the time, $650 to build the house and finish its completion. And today we actually have the original mortgage agreement at the Abraham Lincoln Library and the Presidential Library and Museum. And we have had the opportunity to go down and actually view it ourselves. And so it's a special piece of history.
How cool is that to have those little tie-ins, those little history
It
pieces
is.
with some of the properties like that? That is so cool.
That's just what kind of like it helps envelop the reason why we need to preserve our downtown, because it's all these little cool pieces of history that makes up Springfield and its character. So we worked a deal out with the clinic and the city, and if you want to know all the details of that, you can just go to the newspapers and you can read it because it was all public. The long and short of it, I mean, all of it that happened, it was well worth it, and I would do it again. I would make some changes, like get things in writing, but I would do it again because we preserved a piece of history. We moved it, and then we turned it back into a building that is part of economic development of downtown. We originally opened William Van Coffee in that house. So as we purchased the property where we moved the house, we sat on it for many years before we were able to develop it because we weren't sure to what would make the most economical sense in doing so. So at the time that house sat there vacant after we moved it, I had this brilliant idea of buying the house next door, and that way we would control the entire block there on Jackson.
Yeah.
And that was the Grunendijk house, which is now where Obed and Isaac's microbrewery is housed. At the time, my family, my husband and his children thought I was crazy, and they literally talked about taking me to the hospital because that's how crazy they thought I was. But in the end, I was able to convince him and share the vision that I had for that entire block. We opened Obed and Isaac's February the 12th. We just celebrated our 14th anniversary in 2012. From there, we have really put our heart and soul into everything that we've done on that little block. So we've started with Obed and Isaac's microbrewery. Then a few years later, we opened the beer garden, which we converted from a parking lot. And as we were doing our zoning for that conversion and the transition to a beer garden, we were actually told that it was not an economically feasible decision for us by the zoning board members.
Really?
And it was one particular member of that board that said, if the Conns want to do it, let's give them a chance. And he stood up for us and convinced the other board members vote in favor of it. So we were able to transition a parking lot into what I call downtown's playground. It's a
Mhm.
beer garden. Our brew house is connected to the beer garden. And then that allowed us year later, then we opened the coffee house. So we really activated that entire block. And prior to our arrival there, that whole block it was in bad shape. It had prostitutes on that block. It had the homeless. It was a scary part of this community. It was a scary block.
Mhm.
And we came in with the vigilance that we were going to clean it up and we were going to turn it around and we were going to take those buildings and adaptive reuse them. But what was most important for us is we had to our goal was to turn them into community spaces where
Mhm.
people can come gather and then, share that social time as opposed to, everybody having their head in their phones and
Right.
things like that. And it has succeeded over time.
It has. I would
It's
definitely
been
say that.
great.
Yeah.
And, from there, I tend to get stir crazy, and it appears to be like every 2 years, I get a little stir crazy, and I'm like, "Okay, what's gonna be the next project?"
Consummate entrepreneur here. I love it.
Constantly, constantly. And so then we got this brilliant idea after we were sent an invitation from the city of Peoria and by some of their downtown economic board members to come and explore Peoria. And so in 2015, my husband and I took a reconnaissance mission up there. We wanted to see what it was like on a Sunday night and a Monday night, which
Yeah.
are usually dead nights in the hospitality industry.
Uh-huh.
And doing that, we saw that there were opportunities in the downtown. However, we're out of the box thinkers, and push that they were trying to put our focus on was in the warehouse district, which didn't allow our business model to work. And our business model kind of evolves around we need to have space for expansion. We need to have outdoor space. We need to have patio space. So the business model didn't work in what they were hoping that we would develop in Peoria. So we stumbled across the Cornerstone Church, which is right off the interstate, and it's just right outside the downtown area. And it was in another one of those areas that was less desirable.
Uh-huh.
And so thinking that the church being the diocese across the street and what we could do, and with the development of the Scottish Rites, like what could we do as a partnership to improve that? So in 2016, we opened Obed and Isaac's Peoria location in the historic Cornerstone Church. And it was our biggest project to date.
Uh-huh.
So I would be remiss to say that like every project that we've undertaken since the end, they just get larger and larger and larger.
That's great though. I love it.
It's nerve wracking
Oh, I
though.
bet for you it
It's
is. I bet
nerve
it is.
wracking though. And then we've run the location up there since 2016, and then again, like I said, 2 years in 2018. My father had just passed away, and I inherited all of our family memorabilia and our family collection. And it was just like he had a passion for nature. He was a DNR photographer. And it was like, we need a little farm out in the country. Like we can spend the weekends and we can set up, my family home out there. So literally I was taking everything from the family home and I wanted to move it to a country farmhouse and always be able to relive my childhood. Well, that evolved into buying a 40-acre farm in Elkhart. That's a 10,000 square foot farmhouse. And so my little idea of a country getaway developed into now we're living there and we're working the land and we're renovating a 10,000 square foot house. And it's just a work in progress. I truly do enjoy it. I've learned that as we're doing this, I really think I was a farmer in my former life. I truly love working out on the land, putting gardens in. I just put in a 120 tree orchard. We have 2,500 grapevines, chickens, geese, all of the things that you would think of as kind of like a homesteader, small scale farm. We've incorporated that into our daily life.
Love it. What the trees for your orchard? What kind of trees are they?
So we have a mixture of trees, and there was a strategy behind that. So the orchard was to complement ciders,
Okay. Yeah.
making ciders. So we have cherry trees, peach trees, apple trees, plum trees, nectarine trees. And so of those, we have about 120. And I'm constantly learning. So I'm now taking hardwood cuttings and seeing
Uh-huh.
if I can grow new trees from hardwood
Oh, cool.
cuttings. I'm trying to learn how to properly graft because it hasn't been successful in the past. So I'm obviously doing something wrong. So it's a learning thing.
Mhm.
And I have to back up and also say that everything that I do, I don't have education in. I learn it the hard way because I'm like a lifelong learner. I love learning new things. I love learning new skills. I love learning, learning, learning.
Mhm.
And if I don't know how to do it, then I want to learn how to do it. And that's what, really, strikes my passion and gets me going.
Well, and I think that's key for entrepreneurs in general. I mean, the piece of paper that you have from a college doesn't necessarily do you any good if you're not continuously learning
Yeah.
and figuring out how you need to do the next thing.
Yeah.
So, no, that's awesome. I think the Obeds in Peoria is the only one of your locations that I probably haven't been at yet. Next
Oh,
time I'm up there, I'll have to go up there.
please do because it is just spectacular. It looks like you're walking into like a Bavarian beer house.
Mhm.
It's just the church, the structure is there, and we did our design to complement it, not to compete with it. So it's to complement it. And it's breathtaking. And, really, I had no business buying that big of a structure that far away to try to do this. But when I walked in the back door, my mouth, my jaw hit the floor and I was like, oh, this is hook, line, and sinker. Where
Mhm.
do I sign?
Right. So with that type of location or the Obeds here in Springfield, what take us to some of your strategy behind the insides of a place like that, the kind of vibe that you're trying to create, the kind of experience you're trying to create for your customers.
My first strategy is how do we appreciate its past and then bring it up to modern time, but yet make it a place that's comfortable. So I'm always looking for a way to preserve what I can, bring it to modern standards, and give it that warm, cozy feel because it's all about the experience to me. I could be out in a strip mall, but that's not who I am. Our business, our model is about what makes you feel warm and cozy and want to come back.
Mhm.
So you'll notice a lot of our designs and colors and things like that. We look at what it strikes emotion, what makes you feel, how does it make you feel? And then the vibe is again, it's like we want to appreciate the historic aspect of it, but we don't want to feel like it's in a time capsule. That's
Right.
the last thing we want to do.
Mhm.
So I think that with the inn, it's evolved over time. I will say when we first started out, maybe at the time in, 1990s, like it had that what may be described as grandma's house.
Sure.
But at that time, that's what people were looking for. It's evolved over the period of it'll be 30 years next year.
Yeah.
And
Congratulations on that. That's
thank you.
awesome.
Thank you. And, it's constantly evolving. And that's something that we try to do with all of our properties is we have to, from time to time, look at it and say, okay, what do we need to do next? How do we need to refresh it? Like Obeds, it's getting ready to go under major rehab. And we have to balance that with the current economy
Yeah.
and the climate,
Sure.
that it'll be in slow steps, but we try to just like evoke emotion from people because I
Mhm.
think that's what's going to bring them back.
No doubt about it. So you mentioned the inn's almost 30 now for you guys. So I think a lot of people in Springfield know what you guys have done there, but what are some of the events? What are some of the type of things that go on at the inn?
I have to say 30 years, and I to this day still hear, "Oh, I didn't know that was there." And it was like, "How can that be after 30
Right,
years?
right.
Like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong?" But, events at the end, we do we do a lot of, lobby events,
Mhm.
business events. That's our primary focus. That's 5 days a week. And then the social events, we don't focus heavily on it, but we do quite a few of them
Mhm.
because it's only 2 days a week. So we
Right.
try to find ways that we're full all the time. And then we've started, like everybody else, thank God for the internet, a lot of the rooms and things like that we do through third-party bookings. And then we have our own booking engine. But one of the areas I do wanna bring up is, like, over all of these years that the community has supported us, about 10 years ago no, I take that back, 12 years ago, we decided that we needed to give back to our community, and I established the Conn Family Community Works non-for-profit, and that's where the SOB, the Springfield Oyster and
Yeah.
Beer Festival, that was a charitable event that we put on with the hopes that we could raise enough money to make an impact in the non-for-profit world of a local non-for-profit in Springfield.
Yeah.
So we started doing the SOB prior to even opening OBIDs, and not the quickest learners on the block. It took us a few years before we realized the potential that it had. And then that's when we decided like we need a non-for-profit arm of Conn so that we can continue to fundraise and do things for the community and give back. And, the charitable arm evolved from the SOB. So there were a lot of non-for-profits in the community that we would just give 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 that weren't as public as the SOBs. It was just like we would take charitable requests. We had a small board that would review them, and then we would turn around and say, okay, here's our budget for this quarter, and then we would dole out the money. Because it was truly important to Court and I personally that we gave back to the community that not only supported us over all of this time,
Sure.
but his dad started downtown in 1948
Really?
and had at one time 5 restaurants all operating simultaneously. So it was important that we preserve his father's legacy too and our future legacy,
Yeah.
so that it was important that we did that for the community.
No doubt about it. What were some of those restaurants, those 5?
He had one next to the Senate Theater, and that was Roy's restaurant. And then he had the grill that was over here on 6th Street. He had 2 on Washington Street. At the time, it was called the Levee. And then I think he had one over here on 5th off of the plaza. Those were all a little before my time.
Yeah.
So I don't, I can't say that I ever remember
Right, but
going
that's
into
so
those.
cool. You guys have any of the, like you said, memorabilia earlier? Do you
Oh,
have
we
all the
actually-
all the stuff from some of those restaurants?
We do, and I actually think also Ace Sign Museum might have one of the neon lights. Dennis Brinkett's father found one in his attic that my father-in-law sent out to get fixed and never picked up. And so his dad reached out to my husband and said, I have this neon your dad dropped off, 30 years ago and never picked up. I fixed it and I want you to have it. And he gave it back to us.
Yeah.
And so that's the light that's hanging in Obed's there at the passageway. It was just a piece of history. It was like, that meant so much because really how would we have known that his dad had that?
Right.
But he felt so connected to what we were doing at Obed's. He was like, I want you to have this.
That's awesome. And the Brinketts are awesome.
They are a
I've done a lot of work with them
family.
over the years. They're great. So you mentioned about the inn. There's some people out there that still don't know what you guys do. So what are some ways you guys have marketed over the years to get the word out, I guess?
The funny thing is like when we first opened the inn, that was before the internet, really. It was when we got it, it was dial up and it was so slow. Right now, how we expand our reach is through the internet. And so, like I said, we're doing third party for hotel bookings. And then, word of mouth is still very strong for events. And we have a strong corporate client base. So we try to continuously groom that and stay in contact. And it's really just about top of mind awareness. As long as you're out there in the front, you're seen and being heard. That's kind of our old school marketing. There's a lot of people out there trying to compete, and they're all trying to use social media and, the new AI, all of that. Really what works is just the old fashioned stuff. It's, radio works, billboards work, and networking. And that's the number one is networking.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree there. I mean, all the networking groups, I guess. So yeah, that certainly works.
And things like this podcast is because, this is giving us a platform to, again, just to highlight, here's what we've done, here's what we're doing, and here's where we hope to go. And, if you share your goals with people, I think they have more of a tendency to say, you know what, I want to encourage you and help you with those.
No doubt about it. So you mentioned William Vans. That was one place I always loved going down there. That was a very cool place. It's since moved from the location we were talking about. So talk to us a little bit about the decision to move.
Well, COVID. We all go back to COVID, and downtown, unfortunately, hasn't rebounded from COVID. And it was a reality check when reviewing the business strategy and the models and budgeting for the year that was getting ready to roll out. So we had to make that hard decision. It was hard to close William Vans because William Vans was the name of my husband's grandfather.
Oh, okay.
And the location where William Vans was the family homestead. And we didn't realize that when we initially bought the property, because Court's mother had just passed away. And as we were going through all of her pictures and things like that, we came across all these records and it was
Oh
like,
my.
holy cow. And it was meant to be. We were pushed
Yeah.
in that direction. That, believe it or not, is part of the family homestead. And so that was why we named Obed and William Vans what we did. William Vans was Court's grandfather. Obed Lewis was Court's great great grandfather.
Okay.
So we were paying homage to his family and what they did. Obed Lewis was a mayor of Springfield for many years and also served as Abraham Lincoln's pallbearer. They were good friends, hence, they lived in the same neighborhood. It is well documented that Abraham Lincoln's children played in Obed's backyard with his children. So again, it was just paying homage.
That's amazing, though. That's
We closed William Vans after COVID. COVID was hard on the industry, so we had to make some really hard pivots. And as we did that, an opportunity presented itself in the way of if somebody doesn't do something, the Vinegar Hill Mall would be demolished. And I didn't want to see it demolished. And so I was working with the chamber. I was working with many arms. So I was trying to find a developer just to save that piece of history. It's a very large complex. I really have no business owning it. I couldn't find any takers. They ran as fast as they could as after they got done with the tours because
Mhm.
it's so large and it's a monster and it's going to take a lot of money. So in 2021, again, I had no business doing this, but I made an offer that was an extreme low ball and they took it.
Oh, all right.
I don't think my husband talked to me for a week after that, but he is now. So fast forward, we moved our offices over there, and my team at the time, I mean, we put a lot of effort in planning and trying to strategize what we could do to turn that into a driver for the community. But let's face it, the economy has been very tough,
Mhm.
and since 21 has every year has been more and more of a challenge.
Sure.
So we are currently the owners of the Vinegar Hill Mall, which then I got the brilliant idea is like, let's try to resurrect William Van Coffee.
Mhm.
And so we moved it over there in one of the spots. And then I thought it would be perfect to complement that with an English style pub because Springfield didn't have an English style pub. So we get you in the morning and hope to put you to
Right.
bed at night.
Uh-huh.
That same philosophy. And we've been doing that with Trish and Mary's and William Vans for a few years now. But again, the economy kind of dictates what we can and can't do.
Mhm.
And so we've recently made a pivot to where we're less focused on coffee and more focused on providing food service to Trish and Mary's. And so that's currently where we're at with that. I do have to address, because I think I would be a hypocrite if I don't. I have to address that elephant that is like, yes, I do have my properties up for sale. I am not throwing in the towel. I still intend to be very vested in Springfield, in particularly with Obed's on Jackson and
Sure.
in that property. That decision morphed out of the fact that my husband's 79 years old and I would like to spend quality time.
Of course. Yeah.
And so that was our driving decision. Like, we need to slow down, or better yet, I need to slow down because he has. I mean, he pretty much retired. He helps me every now and then, but I need to slow down and be able to spend quality time while I can. And so I want to just put that out there, share that with everybody. I am not throwing in the towel. I still intend to be very invested in the downtown and in the community. And I think that the recent, over the last month, I think that's pretty evident
No doubt about it.
with the efforts that we're trying to do with a collaborative group that's grassroots led group that is the My Hearts Downtown.
Well, let's get into that a little bit. So tell us the impetus to that grassroots campaign.
It's back to, let's face it, the downtown's had quite a struggle over the last few years. I think all downtowns go through ebbs and flows. We've kind of hit that bottom. And so there was a group of us that got together and said, what can we do to help turn the downtown around? I think that every downtown and every community really matters to the economic health and development. I feel like every large corporation, when they're out looking to hire and bring people in, those people aren't looking for just the value and the dollar of what they're earning. They want to know, like, what's the quality of life. And the first place they look, they're going to look downtown. And I feel our efforts really developed out of, like, we want to do something to improve it, but long-term, bigger picture, we really want to help with the economic growth of Springfield. And that starts in the downtown because it's the heart. I serve on several committees because I'm passionate. Again, I'm not thrown in the towel. I'm very vested. So I serve on a committee that Downtown Springfield Inc. with the city, the mayor put together called Downtown Alliance. And the purpose of the alliance is to help strategize the execution of the master plan. We've met 5 times now. And during all of those meetings, no offense, I mean, we have to, but we do a lot of talking. And after one of those meetings, it was just like my frustration was building. And I expressed some of it in one of the meetings. Somebody approached me and said, "Would you mind going out and having some coffee with me?" And I'm like, "I would love to, because one, I need to vent." So I met with Leah Wilson at the Kidseum, which I really did not know her prior to this. And now we probably talk 10 times a day.
Oh, wow.
But she expressed, some ideas, and she had this idea about doing a campaign, a branding campaign for downtown. And I'm like, that's exactly what we need to do. We need to change the perception that people have about downtown, because it really is all perception based, but that perception turned into reality. And that is, downtown's not safe. There's nowhere to park. There's nothing to do. Well, that's all baloney. Like, downtown is safe. It's no more unsafe than any other part of the city. There's plenty of parking downtown. It's just knowing where it
Where to
is.
go, yeah.
And by gosh, everybody's doing something. I mean, you got the Hoogland, you have the Legacy Theater, you have events like what we do at Obed's, events like Bloom. And it was just bringing all that together. So my heart's developed with the help of Kidseum, Leah Wilson, and Elisa Fox. Elisa put together some logos, and there were several attempts. And it was just like, that's not quite right. That doesn't evoke enough emotion. That doesn't say the right message. And then she developed this My Heart's Downtown. And it was like, just as soon as I saw it, I was like, that is a home run.
Yeah.
Like, don't change anything. You just hit it out of the ballpark.
I loved it. The minute I saw it, I was like, man, that clicks. That's it. Yeah.
Doesn't it? I mean, it just evokes everything. It's like, it evokes family. It evokes sense of place. It evokes that warm feeling like I'm invited.
Right.
It just hit everything that I was looking for. And Elisa just hit it out of the ballpark. It was awesome. And then the other components, we decided, like, we need to bring in community partners. So we approached the Heritage Foundation, Downtown Springfield's Heritage Foundation, and asked if they would partner with us, and they would be the house of where all of the funds would be. So the clearinghouse for all the donated funds that we raised, and they were like 110% in. Then we approached DSI and said, "Jay, would you be willing to be that liaison and help us so that," and he said, "Sure, absolutely." He's all in. And then Kanan from Israel Housing, like, I think that he was a gift from God. He put together the Downtown Live calendar. He put together some of the graphics and how to bring it all together and put it out there so that it's a one-stop shop. The website, just, if we said we needed this, it was less than 24 hours and Keenan delivered.
It's done. Awesome.
It was just amazing. All in essence, like that one meeting that Leah and I had over coffee, what it did is we just brought people together. We're connecting dots. And then we're taking an idea and we're just grooming it. And we're trying to make it to the point where it was so appealing that the businesses would run with it too. And they did.
Yeah.
And they did. And
No,
this was like, this is what we want to give the downtown community as a gift. We took it even further. What are some of the challenges that businesses have when looking at how to market and brand your business? We said, okay, let's take that component and try to make it easy for them. So we created these social media templates, or Facebook and Instagram, and we put it on live that they are online in a Dropbox. They could go and download that and then overlay their logo and overlay their pictures, and they could be a part of this campaign. So we were just trying to find a way that we can embrace the entire community, get people involved, and at the same time we were looking at what are the stumbling blocks? What are the challenges that these businesses or the downtown has, and how can we overcome that?
And it's amazing what can happen when you get the right people involved, connecting all the dots, people that are ready for action and not just talking about what can be done, ready to get something done. It's just amazing.
It is. And the sculpture that they installed on Friday was Leia wanted to do something that was Instagrammable,
Yeah.
a photo moment, and it was like, absolutely. So A Sign created the sculpture, designed it, and fabricated it. But the big challenge with these ideas is like, how do you get the funding?
Mm.
Well, Leia knew exactly who to go ask, and she made an appeal and asked, and they were like, absolutely. So they wrote the check for it. And in the meantime, other people are saying, well, you need to look at this grant because there's placemaking for that. And it was like, perfect. All right. Well, the thing with me, if you tell me something, I don't just, I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to run with it.
Mhm.
So I did and wrote a grant. Guess what? We got it.
Nice.
So we can do
Heck
another
yeah.
heart.
Love it.
And so that momentum's going and we are looking for, some downtown passionate people that really want to see the downtown improve.
Mhm.
We're looking for people to help us continue this momentum. So if, anybody's interested in volunteering and helping serve on this committee, we welcome it. And they can email us at myheartsdowntown@gmail.com because this is just the beginning. There's so much more that we can do. And let's face it, there's a lot more we need to do.
Sure.
Last night, we convened our first group of downtown retail merchants. We were hoping that we could establish this as a monthly roundtable discussion so we can bring ideas or even pain points to the table and
Yeah.
get those addressed. And we spent 1 hour last night with about a dozen business owners, and we discussed areas that we need to address in order to improve the downtown and make it feel safer, make it look more beautiful, and make
Mhm.
it more appealing to not just the people that live here, but also the visitors. Because let's face it, our downtown is carried by tourism.
Oh yeah, yeah, no doubt about it. No, like I told you before, I'm happy to lend my support and help however I
Thank you.
can. And
Thank you.
my platform here would love to get some more local businesses on here. Let's promote what's going on down here. I'm happy to be a part of anything you need me for. So,
I think you've been downtown long enough that you know who the usual suspects
yeah,
are, that
of course.
there's this group of very passionate business owners that are definitely willing to speak up.
Yes, indeed. No, A Sign Company's great. That for anybody that hasn't seen it, that heart is sitting on the southwest
Southwest.
corner of the Old State Capitol Square there, and they just did a phenomenal job there.
They have. And Dennis Brinkett is a former president of Downtown Springfield Inc., as I am as well. And then the president of the Downtown Springfield Heritage Foundation, Scott Traylor, he is a former DSI president as
Okay.
well. So as we're all talking, we're spitballing ideas. Dennis came to me and he was like, you know what? We need to do bus bench advertising throughout
Mhm.
the city.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a brilliant idea. I would have never thought of that. So he crafted up a list of locations that we should look at and consider. And they were great. We were like, we really want to do this. And he was like, now we can get 3 logos on each one of those benches with
Yeah.
the My Hearts logo. You need to go out and see if you can sell those. And I was
Mhm.
like, okay. I hate selling. But I went out and made the ask. Leah went out and made the ask. And it was like we had those sold in a day.
That's what I say. I bet you sold out in a hurry.
A day. And now we have people that have approached us and said, we want our own bench
Uh-huh.
or we want 2 of those. And it's like, that is great. That is great. And then it's like, Dennis, can we get 2 more benches? Can we get 1 more bench? So you're going to see more of those pop up throughout the city. And the reason they are in the surrounding areas of downtown is they're there just as an invitation to come downtown.
Mhm.
Remember, your heart's really downtown.
Yeah. Love it. No, I was actually just talking to Dennis over the weekend. He was at the new home and remodeling show by the Home Builders Association. He has his faux glass company that he does now with the faux windows that he puts on garage doors. So I was talking to him about the benches because I think I mentioned to you, I'm also the president of Local First Springfield.
Yes.
So I think there's some great opportunities there for us. And I think there's some great opportunities for Local First Springfield to be able to partner up and help with the My Hearts Downtown campaign as well. So,
That would be great because I just want to put it out there. This is all about partnership
Mhm.
and preserving our community.
Exactly. Yeah, that's when I'm looking at any of these partnerships, it's how can we work together to uplift all of us here. There's no ego involved for anybody. It's everybody just trying to do what's right for the community and do what's right for the people of this town and therefore the businesses of this town so we can all grow together. So,
Amen to that.
just love it. Love it. So what's next for My Hearts Downtown? Well, first let's talk about over the weekend. So much stuff going on. So many things.
I was nervous leading up to Friday. And as I was driving in from Elkhart, I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be a long day. And how pleasantly surprised I was to drive by down 7th or 5th Street by the southwest corner and see a sign there installing that heart. I was like, this is going to be a great day. Friday night, these businesses were bursting at the seams. That was Friday night. Saturday being Valentine's Day, I think it was one of the best days they've had in a long time.
It was busy down here. I was down here for a little bit on Saturday. It was busy. It was popping. You could feel the energy. It was great.
And that's it. It was like I literally felt the energy.
Yeah.
Like, holy cow, I haven't felt this in years,
Uh-huh.
in years. So it was great. We are looking for feedback from the merchants downtown, all of the shops, restaurants, bars, gift stores, to see how their weekend was, because I think that it's important that we have that data, legitimate data. We don't want to guesstimate. We don't want to assume. I would like to
Right.
hear it from the businesses, because I think this is an opportunity that we can take that and go to the city and then say, here's the feedback. Here's what this one initiative did. It was an economic driver for the
Mhm.
weekend
No doubt about it.
to help maybe get more commitment from the city. It was a great weekend. So what we did over the weekend, that's just the start. What we hope to do next is establish the downtown retailers roundtable discussions and giving the businesses a peer-to-peer group that they can talk about operational challenges or big decisions, and they just need somebody to help them think through it. But we're trying to establish off of this also the Business Neighborhood Watch program, which it's just connecting businesses on how to communicate and identify patterns,
Sure.
not one-off instances, but patterns that need to be addressed, and in preventing crime. But that's also, we would like to spin that out and take it one step further, that business watch, and teaching people crime prevention through environmental design and
Mhm.
how we can, the placement of our cameras can deter crime. The placement of our lights can deter crime. The placement of where we put our gates can deter crime. So
Of course.
trying to educate the business owners and the downtown property owners that process. And overall, we want to do another heart installation. And so we're constantly looking, okay, what would make the most sense? Where would be the most impact? And currently we're looking at the Bicentennial Plaza to see if the realtors in the city will allow us to install another sculpture, not
Mhm.
maybe the same one, something a little different, but
That'd be a great
along
spot for it. Yeah.
with the Levitt amp. We have the governor's mansion, and it is the direct corridor to the Lincoln Home neighborhood.
Mm.
I think that would make the most logical sense. So we're in the process of trying to do that as well. There's a lot of things that are on the radar, but again, we're a group of 5, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that it was Leah Wilson, Kidzeum, Elisa Fox from Kidzeum, Kanan Barnett from Israel Housing, Jay Shanley from DSI and the Springfield Area Arts, and then myself, and then Scott Traylor with the Downtown Heritage Foundation.
No, I'm excited for what's to come, and like I said, I'll lend my help however you see fit on using me there. So
You come up
happy
with
to
a
do it.
creative idea, like what works for you. You decide what works for you, and we would welcome anything that you could do to spread the message and help our downtown.
Excited. Exciting stuff. Well, we've talked a lot of business. Let's flip over to the personal side a little bit. What are some ways you elevate your life personally?
All right, so I am a podcast junkie, and I'm always looking for a way to grow.
Yeah.
And not just grow, intelligence wise. I want to grow to be a better person. And I also want to grow to be a healthier person. So I'm constantly analyzing podcasts and how I can fit those into my life every day, cutting out processed foods.
Yeah.
That's a really hard one, by
Yeah.
the way. Very, very hard, especially when you're a French fry junkie.
Sure. I used to be a French fry junkie too, but I have made the shift to no processed foods. I have made the shift.
Oh, can you give me any pointers?
Well, it was just a matter of one day I said, "Hey, I'm not going to go halfway on this. It's going to be tough, but I'm just doing it. I'm drawing a line. I'm not going to do it anymore." That's all. It's quite simple. That's what I did. There was no real strategy involved. It was just a decision I made for my health. Want to be there for my kids long term. So hey, I'm cutting this out, and I just
Will you give me
did.
inspiration? Because I can do that. I people laugh at me when I say this, and because I own a brewery,
Mhm.
I drink NA beers,
Yeah.
and it's like, that's just part of, I need to live a healthier life. I need to live a healthier life.
Yeah, I mean, with all the health and wellness stuff, there's so much out there right now that people try to overcomplicate what it's all about, but it's really the basics. It's really the
True.
simple stuff. You take away the processed food, you keep moving, you have good sleep. It's all those simple things that make the most impact on your health and wellness, not all the little biohacking tips and tricks that you can get from
Yeah, those
everybody.
I get so turned off by.
Yeah.
But it's like, we need to sleep, and I'm that person that rises at between 3:30 and 4:30 in the morning.
Mhm.
And people are like, "Oh, you don't get any sleep." No, I get my 7 to 8 hours of
Yeah,
sleep because I go to bed at 8 or
right.
8:30. And because sleep is very important to your health. I think it's probably the foundation to our health because
No
we
doubt
need to
about it.
be able to recharge our body.
Mhm.
And then all that biohack stuff, I just like that is just such talk, talk, talk. It's like hot air and it's just wasting time.
And for most people, it's not gonna have a huge impact. That type of stuff is really for the folks that are already they're 100% in it. They're elite in what they're doing in terms of athletes, or they're way up the chain in terms of fitness. Those are the type of people that those little things can move the needle a little bit. But for most people, what moves the needle is the simple stuff.
Yeah,
That's
just
just what it
the
is.
simple stuff. The other thing that is so important is like we have to have mental well-being too. And I feel that in today's society, everybody's so worried about what every other person thinks. I'm all about free speech and you deserve to have your own opinion. And if you want to express it, that's well and good. But my philosophy is all right, if that's how you feel, great. It has no reflection on
Right.
me. And
Exactly.
so I think Mel Robbins says, let them.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Do you have any favorite podcasts?
Mel Robbins is one of my favorites. I love to watch her. And then I watch a couple of the other ones that are on health and wellness, and they've kind of spun off into being the biohacks
Uh-huh.
because
Yeah.
they're at 100%. And
Right.
now they just need to keep making podcasts. And so it's just hot air to
Right.
me.
Right.
It's just hot air.
Yeah. Some of the other ones that are a little more back to the basics, like Dr. Mark Hyman.
I love
Yeah,
Yeah, I
he's a
love
good
him.
one. He doesn't get too far into the biohacking stuff. He's more on just the basics, the nutrition, the keep moving, and
How
the
you can turn your body around from having diabetes, you could all of these just by what you eat.
yeah.
Watch what you eat. So I do in the proper weather when it's usually daylight. I'll get out and I'll start walking at about 5 in the morning and then I'll walk 5 miles. And I always listen to Mark
That's
because
huge.
it's like it's an inspiration to me to keep moving, and it is about what we put in our mouth. We make that choice. And so if you want to live a life that you have diabetes, that's your choice,
Right.
really.
No doubt about it.
I
I
love
completely
him.
agree. Yeah, he's
I love
great.
him.
Dr. Gundry's another one. If you ever, he's more of the, he's a lot on the gut health, but he's on the same thing. It's what you eat. So that would be another one to pop into the rotation,
Have,
maybe.
have you watched The Diary of a CEO?
Have not.
The Diary of a CEO. I loved him. He's from England, and maybe it's the accent that gets me. Yeah, okay, it is.
It's
It's
the
the accent
accent.
that gets
Yeah.
me. I love listening to him. But he is across the board, and that's another reason why I like his, because I don't have to be solely focused on health. I don't have to solely be focused on mental well-being. I don't have to solely be focused on the business. He brings it all together so I can listen to his podcast and it's ticking all those boxes. And he is like my favorite subscription right there.
Love it. I'll have to check that one out. It'll be the next on my list. Well, Karen, so much great stuff today. What kind of legacy would you guys like to leave Springfield?
I hope that when I'm no longer here, I'm remembered as leaving not only Springfield, but every community that I've touched a little better place. And I have to share that Carolyn Oxtoby was a true inspiration to me. And I evolved from just being, I want to be a business person, just business, 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 to watching how Carolyn interacted and left the downtown community a better place. And so her inspiration has really had an effect on how I grew as a business community member.
Awesome. Well, I always like to close with these last couple of things. Let's give the audience a piece of advice, one on the professional side, one on the personal side, to help them elevate their life or business.
Choose your attitude is on the personal side because
Mhm.
believe it or not, your attitude not only affects you, but it affects everybody else around you.
Mm.
And you can control that. And on the business side, kind of the same thing. It's not necessarily what you say, but how you say it. And whatever you're trying to get, just remember you can evoke that response by how you interact with that person. And then number 2, always take a calculated risk. Don't be fearful of risk. If you take a calculated risk, it'll always come back and reward you in the end.
Let's go. Love it. And is there anything we can do community wide to help all of us here elevate Springfield and the surrounding communities?
Support your local businesses. The mom and pop stores in particular, we've sat here and we've talked, and my passion and my heart truly is downtown. I've invested my entire life in the inner city of Springfield and in the inner city of all communities that I do business in. So really support your downtown business.
Love it.
Got to support our downtown.
Completely agree. Well, Karen, if anybody out there wants to learn more about anything you have going on, the businesses you have, the My Heart's Downtown, where do they go?
Well, the myheartsdowntown.org for the My Heart campaign, or you can email us at myheartsdowntown@gmail.com. And if you want to reach out to me, contact information is all over the internet, but it's Karen C at conshg.com, or they can reach us at info@conshg.com.
There you go. Well, so much great stuff today, Karen. It
It's
was a
been a
pleasure
pleasure.
sitting talking with
No,
you.
thank you very much for the invitation.
All right. Well, we're going to let Karen get back to elevating Springfield. But for the rest of y'all, we'll be right back.